there not doing much. I think it'd be good if they can bring them back in, but maybe there's, after every round, you know, like a pit stop in a race.
Yeah,
you can change the tires on your Dino.
Sew the leg back on.
Yeah, so you can recover. Hello and welcome to the Idiots 3 RPG podcast. Today we're playing Pitch Slap, the game where we pitch our homebrew RPG concepts for points and prestige. I'm AJ, your judge and moderator for the next hour, and with me I have...
Jack, hello.
And Duncan, also, hello.
Here is how the game works. Jack and Duncan will each pitch their latest concept for an RPG game or mechanic, and I will award them marks out of 10 for design, novelty, funness, and today's special requirement, which is combat. Plus, there are 3 bonus points up for grabs if they include dinosaurs in their games. Not compulsory, but it will make me happy if they do. And now, for initiative, tell me about the last time you were involved in a fight.
So the last time I was involved in a fight was when I was 15. It was just before I came to New Zealand, and I was a bit of a martial arts fanatic back then. I did a lot of them.
You studied the blade.
I studied the blade. While you were doing GCSEs, I was studying the blade. And a karate sparring match between myself and somebody else that I did not get on very well with spiraled a little bit out of control, and we ended up choking each other out on the mat, which is not what you're supposed to do in karate, just by the way.
Okay, so Jack's last fight, he choked out a teenager or something. Duncan?
So, before I talk about the thrilling life of Duncan, who won the fight?
Him, the guy I did not like.
gutted.
He got his fingers right into my throat. It was not fun.
Ouch.
Or maybe it was fun. Be fun now.
Duncan, segue us.
So, let me take you on a journey. It goes all the way back to my childhood, where I've just talked my way out of every fight or been saved at the last minute. So I'm just an unfighted person.
Well, tonight we're going to change that. Let's go.
All right, Jack, I think you win initiative here.
Fair enough.
Give me your combat dinosaur game.
All right, so the name of this combat dinosaur game is Dinosaur Cold War.
Ooh.
Do I get double points for making it rhyme?
I'll take it into consideration.
Excellent. So the idea of Dinosaur Cold War, I was inspired by the idea of evolution kind of being a bit of an arms race. When I was thinking of dinosaurs, I always think of very specific things that the dinosaur is well known for. So T-Rexes are big and they have big jaws and tiny arms, and they've been adapted to break through armor. So in response, herbivores kind of develop bigger armor, and then the T-Rex gets bigger and sharper, and then the herbivore gets even bigger armor, and it's kind of like this constant arms race. And I thought, okay, well, let's bring that into kind of a Cold War setting. So
It's very appropriate.
the idea of the game is that it's a world in which dinosaurs have been brought back to life and are being used as kind of weapons of war. And during the Cold War, the timeline is exactly the same. So we're set in the Cold War, but instead of nuclear armaments, people are developing bigger, better, stronger, sharper, faster dinosaurs. And in much like the Cold War fashion, you know how they're kind of like swinging their dicks around to show between Russia and the US to see who's got the bigger armament.
Sure.
Instead, in this world, there's an arena where each nation brings their dinosaurs together and makes them fight.
This sounds like a marvelous cooperation between nations.
Doesn't it just?
It does.
This sounds like Dinosaur Pokemon.
Yes, that's actually what the pitch, the elevator pitch originally says. It's like
Cold War. It's like Turok meets Pokemon.
yeah, a Pokemon-style game where each player builds up a team of dinosaurs that do battle, using victory money to evolve, upgrade, and otherwise improve their team to better their chances of victory next time.
Neat.
So, there's kind of 2 levels to this game. There's what I call the strategic layer and the tactical layer. Both involve dinosaurs.
Okay.
Strategic and tactical, is that not similar things?
They are similar. Strategy is broader. Tactics is for a battle. Strategy is for a war.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how I understand it anyway.
Yeah. No, that
I don't understand it, so I'll just believe you.
That is correct.
So, how about we take it from, like, start of game? What's
Sure.
set up? How many players? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. So I haven't got a specific set number of players, but I think the more that you have, the less fun it becomes. I think it's best between 3 to 4 players,
Right.
because it comes down to the more players you have, the busier the tactical layer gets.
Okay.
And it becomes a point of, when you're playing board games and it's like, you've got like 12 players and then it's like somebody on the opposite ends of the table's turn and you get really bored and they're taking ages to do shit. This is a game that you want to be quite action-packed because it's combat at the tactical layer. So the fewer players and the faster the game and the better. So the game starts off with each player picking a country, fictional or otherwise. So United States, Russia, Great Britain, Czech Republic.
Dunkville.
Russoslavia.
Russoslavia, that's our first reference. And from there, you get to pick 3 baseline dinosaurs, right?
Okay.
The
Real dinosaurs, or can we?
You can make them up.
dinosaurs?
Because
Sweet.
I remember when I was younger, and if you didn't like dinosaurs when you were younger, you did not have a real childhood. You are a robot and should be purged.
Okay.
I remember it being like fucking sick to kind of think up your own dinosaurs. So you'd have like a T-Rex, and you'd be like, oh, what if a T-Rex had like one of those big hammer tail things?
You've done your nomenclature research.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Pterodactyl,
Wings.
Triceratops.
Teeth. Fangs.
So you can kind of
Jaws.
Frankenstein a dinosaur for yourself.
Yeah.
Using
But
the best parts.
All of that is kind of the realm of the imagination, I suppose. But there's no set dinosaur that you start off with. Everyone starts with like the baseline dino.
The starter dinosaur.
The starter dinosaur.
You pick one of 3, your rival chooses
You
the
pick,
other.
but you pick one of 3, and
Okay.
your rival chooses the one that's most effective against
Yeah.
that one. And as the game progresses, as you win matches or lose matches, as the case may be, you upgrade their stats. Now, the stats that I've got are kind of ferocity, like big T-Rex kind of style thing, defense, Triceratops, big horns and lots of armor, smarts, so a Velociraptor would be a very smart dinosaur, and I think the other one is size. I'm not sure about size at the moment, thinking like the bigger the dinosaur, the easier it is to hit, but the more health it has.
Right.
The smaller
Yeah.
the dinosaur, the harder it is, but
No, I think size is a worthwhile mechanic because then there's like size includes like agility, includes like hiding behind other dinosaurs, all that sort of stuff.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, size is something that makes sense to simulate in a RPG or a board game as well.
Yeah.
You could also call it big dickosity.
It could be bigosity. This is a child-friendly game.
Sorry.
Duncan, because children like
We have
dinosaurs.
Oh,
to learn about it. Big
Nice
dick
child-friendly game where we have animals fight to the death.
Yeah.
on the international arena.
You're describing Pokemon. This is Pokemon.
So with creating your first dinosaurs, is there like a spending points mechanic for making them? Or?
Yeah. So the intent is that as the game, you start off and it's very basic. The skills that you have, the stats that you have are very low level.
Sure.
You only have a small number of options to go along with. I was actually kind of somewhat inspired by XCOM, the recently
The game that you're
rebooted version.
addicted to.
Yes, I fucking love XCOM. In that the game starts off, what it has is a reverse difficulty curve where it starts off really hard and it gets easier as your characters get more skills, but you start off with very basic skills, and the longer you go on, the more skills that they get, and thus you have more options.
Right. Okay.
Similar idea here. Everyone starts off with very basic moves, very basic stats. Maybe they've got a 2 in one stat and 1 in everything else. And then you have the attack actions and defend actions, and that's pretty much all that you can do.
So does much differentiate starter dinosaurs?
I haven't actually come up with a way of doing that neatly yet, but what I was thinking was having like a pool of points. So you've got your 3 dinos, and then you can allocate points as much as you want along those dinos as much as you like. So you can put like a couple extra points in ferocity for one of them, and everyone has the opportunity to do that. The key is that you don't know what the other players have put their points into.
Well, would you not be able to see from their dinosaur?
No, once you actually start battling, yes, you can see their
Dinosaur.
stats. But after
While
every
they're
match,
still in their Pokeballs.
while they're still in
You've
the
got no
Pokeballs, you
idea.
don't know how that person has upgraded that dinosaur.
Okay.
So this could be a dinosaur that's super ferocious, whereas in the last combat, they played a one that was really defensive.
Okay.
That's also where the Cold War thing comes in, where you're trying to guess what the other players are doing and how to counter it.
Okay.
That's the strategy versus the tactics.
Whoever gets their dinosaur on the moon first wins.
Exactly. Damn, that's the end game. Shut up, Duncan. Spoilers.
It's like they've put a battle arena up there, and it's like the final level.
That would
Like,
actually
fight.
be really funny.
That's pretty
Let's
sick.
work that in.
I like that.
Let's work that in. Maybe that could be the end game.
That's the Elite Four or whatever they're called.
So you get your starter dinosaurs, And so you're battling, you each choose one at a time?
Yes. So you pick one at a time so that you have a little bit of variation. So that if you only had one dino for each player, everyone would know, oh, okay, last time they played, like they had a 5 defense stat. It might have a 7 defense stat this time. But if you've got 3 dinos, you don't know if they're going to play their defense one or their ferocity one or their speed one or however else they've specialized.
Okay, well, let's say it's us 3 having a battle. What happens first? We each chuck our dinos out, and then what?
So I imagine it being played on a hexagonal grid or like a D&D tile style kind of map grid.
Okay.
Before the actual combat begins, every player has an opportunity to put down like obstacles. So you take it in turns. So maybe I'll put down a rock, and then AJ would put down
cavemen.
Okay.
Concealed
cavemen. Fuck it.
Concealed spike trap.
Cool. And then I put down 1, and it continues there until an X number of turns have been. And then you play your dinosaurs, and it's kind of like D&D combat. You roll for initiative. Whichever one has the highest speed goes first.
Right.
And then it kind of goes from there.
Okay.
In terms of turns.
That seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So we go through. Let's say Duncan kills your dino. Do you throw out another one, or is that in another match?
No, that's it. You're out of the match.
Right. So you can have. So your team has 3, but per battle you just got 1.
You only have 1. Okay. Yeah.
So how much have you really thought about the combat mechanic and how it works?
The combat mechanics, I put a little bit of thought into. It's not as solid as I would like.
Losing points.
Hey, wait.
That's my job.
The combat mechanic, as in the specifics of.
Yeah, so
the fight?
I'm kind of leading you into a follow-up question, which is, so walk us through. So we roll for initiative. Now we're in combat. We've got our dinosaur stats. Take us through what it looks like.
Sure. So let's say you've got a 2-player match and you've got 2 dinos on the field.
Great.
And they've moved into melee combat.
Okay.
Right? Let's say this is very basic and you've only got melee options at this stage.
You mean there's things other than melee?
You might be able to shoot spikes at some point,
sick.
depending on how what you invest in.
Okay.
And the skills.
Like spit acid or something like that.
Yeah, stuff. Yeah,
cool.
acid spit. Yeah, that's actually one that's in here.
Oh, good.
Yeah, acid spit is the only one I could think of.
Okay.
So whomever goes first, let's say they're attacking in melee, they're using just a bite or a claw or something. They will roll a d20 and they will add their ferocity score to that. And then the defending dino rolls a d20 and adds their defense score to that. Whomever has the highest number wins that particular round of combat and deals damage equal to their ferocity, divided by 2 or something along those lines. The specifics I haven't got down to. At a very basic level, at early game, that it just goes
Those are the
in
fundamentals.
Terms. Attack, defend, attack, defend, attack, defend.
When you actually attack, is it dice based or how do stats work?
Yes, it's dice based. So whenever you attack, you roll a d20, you add your ferocity to it, and it's a kind of a contested roll, is what you would call it.
If your stats are as low as like 1 or 2, a d20 seems very high, because now I feel like your stat makes very, very little difference, especially if you're competing, hitting against someone else.
Yeah, it does at the low levels. It does at the low levels. And what you're trying to do, as your dinos develop, the randomness of the die matters less, which allows you to be more tactical in the way that you play, especially when you start investing in additional skills. So maybe you don't just have the bite attack anymore. Maybe you have the acid spit, so you back up and spit and then charge in, rather than just kind of doing a big battle of the titans smashing at each other kind of deal.
Right. So you're in your first couple of battles when you've just got your really basic dinosaur.
Yeah.
Is it just going to be 2 or 3 dinosaurs standing next to each other, kicking each other in the shins till 2 others fall over?
Yeah, that's actually one of the problems with the early game, is that it's quite slow. Okay. What I'm thinking is that if players want to be a little bit more tactical, or not tactical, but a little bit more advanced, they could start their dinosaurs off at a higher level.
I feel like the main way you could solve that is just put more dinos on the field. You could have some kind of balance where you could have 1 big T-Rex, or you could have 3 tiny velociraptors, or something like that, so you get more out. Or maybe you can use as many as you want in the first match, maybe they lose health for later on.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. So maybe, you can use all 3 of your dinos throughout all the matches, but maybe if one gets knocked out, you can only replenish a certain amount of health or something. So, because then that brings the tactics back and things like that. And when I'm imagining in my head, 3 of us playing, there's only 3 dinos on the field. Obviously, say my one's weak, so I've started with something weak, and you guys have started with something strong, I'm obviously not going to go anywhere near it. So I'm basically just going to run to the other side of the field, let you two duke it out,
and then pick up the scraps.
Yeah, pick up the scraps, do whatever I want. I think if you chuck a bunch more dinosaurs on, I think that's where you can get more strategy, make it more dynamic.
Yeah, maybe then that you, in terms of fielding a dinosaur, is almost like points from a war game, like Warhammer,
like a Warhammer style,
where it's like a 500 point match. And so let's say a 500 size match, or weight, because it's fighting, weight class. So if you field a 500 weight T-Rex, your opponent could field 5 100 little raptors, or, like 2 and 1, or just 2 T50s or something like that.
Yeah.
To balance it out.
That's a really good idea, because that also means that if you've got somebody who only has 3 dinos and they play all 3 in one match, and you manage to take out all 3, they're not going to be able to take part in the next match.
Right.
I reckon they should be able to, but a massive disadvantage. Because I find it sucks, especially in games which are multi-rounds, are designed to go for a certain amount of time. When if someone gets knocked out early on, you're just sitting there not doing much. I think it'd be good if they can bring them back in, but maybe there's, after every round, like a pit stop in a race.
Yeah.
You can change the tires on your dino.
Sew the leg back on.
Yeah, so you can recover a certain amount, and then you've got the other strategy of, okay, my T-Rex got through the first round pretty well, but it's lost a bunch of health. I can put stuff on him, or maybe I could use those points to buff up my little team of velociraptors for the next one who I haven't used yet.
Yeah.
I reckon that could be good strategy, like making it... Yeah, because you're talking tactics versus strategy.
Yeah.
So that's more strategy for the long game versus just here. Maybe because you also want to encourage people to fight each other, because like the scenario I said before, which is a... what's it called? It's like a game theory thing about truels, which is like a duel but with 3 people. It's the thing, if one of you's terrible at shooting and the other 2 are great, what do you do? Like what's
you hide.
Yeah. Basically, you miss on purpose, hope the other 2 shoot each other, because you don't want to take one of the other ones out. So if you want to avoid stuff like that, you want to have some incentive for people to beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Which actually makes it more interesting to have more players, like at least 3 as well.
Yeah, so maybe like randomized drops when you do a certain amount of damage, something like that.
One thing you could actually do as well, adding to the tactical element, which sounds like you really want like a heavy tactical element, which I think is wise, because that would be super sick, is... You've got this hex grid. Well, what if the hex grid was more complicated than an open plane with a few walls? I mean, what if navigating through...
That's what the obstacles are.
Yeah, but like a lot of obstacles. So let's say there's a forest and that reduces visibility. Or let's say it's like canyons or something. Or moon craters, eh? Moon craters.
Moon craters, yeah.
Then if in a 3-way battle... 2 players might encounter each other before the 3rd player has like found them, or maybe they'll all find each other at once, or there are multiple exits to like disengage and things like that, or high ground and low ground, etc.
On a similar note, that would be really cool. I've also thought that rather than just it always being deathmatch, you could have classic modes
capture the
flag, or team deathmatch, where you go 2 people team up against one, and if in a 3-player game, and if the person outnumbered wins, they get double the rewards at the end of the match. Or there's a King of the Hill kind of deal, and with capture the flag, for example, it would be really wise for you to play all of your
speedy little dudes.
Like if you've got 3 speedy dudes, you're going to fucking win that match easily.
Yeah.
And it encourages you to diversify the 3 dinos that you have
your portfolio
as well
of dinosaurs. No, I think that's cool. And that's a real staple of fighting, like arena games as well. It's not just deathmatch, because everyone gets bored of deathmatch. Eventually you want to do capture the point, so you're holding point A, they're holding point C, and then you fight over point B. So then someone's raptor fucking sneaks around and gets A, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. You got to backtrack and all that sort of stuff.
Variety is the spice of Dinosaur Cold War.
Exactly.
And one other thing that I wanted to add was the use of skills, which I mentioned before. I wanted a reason for, like, one of the things when thinking of dinosaurs and fighting and the intersection of the two was thinking, well, you don't always want to just have people making the most ferocious dinosaur or the highest defense dinosaur, because that would get boring.
And
then that's where you start getting the smarts stat in, where it doesn't actually give you any extras to rolls. For example, so like in combat, you've got ferocious versus defense, and in melee combat, that's probably all it's ever going to be. With smarts, the reason that you invest in smarts is because it unlocks new skills for you. So, for example, the raptor might get pack tactics, where it gets
or
double...
Pactics.
Or Pactics, if you will.
Pactics TM.
Or maybe you get, and because this is the Cold War, maybe you start bolting guns onto your dinosaur. Maybe you start enhancing it in that way, and it can only learn to use that if it has a certain level of smarts.
Right.
So you could end up having a dino that has very low defense, very low ferocity, but it can nuke you.
Right.
And so suddenly you've got the 2 players in that 3-player standoff deal. Suddenly they're not it's not the strongest that are suddenly the most dangerous, it's the smartest, which feels to me like evolution, Cold War, dinosaurs, smush them together. That's what you kind of get.
Yeah.
It's not just the biggest, it's the smartest.
You
as
want
well.
the most evolved to win, and typically those who evolve to be smarter last longer. But with that, then, if smarts is so good and so versatile, would that mean that it's rarely worth putting points into ferocity or defense?
Yeah, now that's actually one thing that I
think that's sort of
Yeah.
how it would scale up from there. Like, you'd have to make guns, nukes, whatever, way down the end. That
Yeah.
smarts take quite a while to build up.
it's a long-term investment is smart.
Maybe that could be how you encourage people to fight. Maybe the more they fight, the smarter they get at fighting, the more smarts you get. Maybe there's a specific way you earn it.
Yeah, there were a couple of ways that I thought of doing that, where ferocity, defense, and size or speed or whatever, they do get skills, but they don't get them as frequently.
Well, one thing you could do if skills are such an important part of the later game, it could be that in order to use certain equipment or skills, you need a certain level of ferocity or defense, thus meaning you have to balance the two moving up. So you want to use the back-mounted tactical nuke, but you need quite a lot of strength to hold it, even physically carry it.
Yeah.
So so you're not going to mount a tac nuke to your Pactics Raptors.
Or maybe with that one, maybe you have a Brachiosaurus lugging it around, and then you have a Velociraptor like actually manning it and doing shit.
Yeah, the Velociraptor's got like the rangefinder, the laser, and the Brachiosaurus has the artillery cannon.
What have we created? Has science gone too far?
And they're on the moon. Just
You love
wanna
it. You love that moon.
Really push the moon
Are you
element.
saying we're going to nuke the moon?
It's inevitable at this point, I think.
That's true. It's always up there.
That's the end of the space race. Whoever can destroy the moon wins the space race.
And that's when the timeline from Time Machine takes over. And we end up... Have you seen Time Machine or read Time Machine?
No.
Fuck.
You mean The Time Machine by H.G. Wells?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
I don't see how nuking the moon comes into this
because
at
they
all.
break the moon.
Do they?
Pretty sure they break the moon. You may have to cut all of this if it's wrong, but I feel like
I'm not cutting this.
I've seen a Time Machine film because I don't read as many books as I should. The moon gets broken, and then eventually humans are like cavemen.
I think you're thinking of The Time Traveler's Wife.
Possibly.
That one. Or maybe that one where it's like a letterbox that sends letters through time. Some other time
You're
travel
thinking
movie.
of Doctor Who. He's in he travels in a letterbox, I'm pretty sure.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Cool.
It just pops out. The little flag comes up, and that's how you know he's arrived.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking hell. Well, that was great content. Sorry, everyone.
I want to go over some specific skills, because when you're talking about evolution and learning and things, I was immediately thinking of Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
that's the thing for dinosaurs and pop culture. And they do totally evolve in that, because Jurassic Park is the thing where they have to scale up the threats over movies. So like in the first one, you got dinosaurs, which are dangerous on their own, and then the Velociraptors manage to open doors and stuff like that. And then in like...
in the more recent one, didn't they like create a new dinosaur?
Yeah, in Jurassic World, they create a new dinosaur, which has skills they clearly don't understand, and it can turn invisible. Yeah. So that will be a very interesting skill if you could have a piece.
Visibility. Yes.
Yeah, if you could have one that's moving around the field, and maybe you just keep track of where it's moved to.
Invisibility is always a really hard thing to do in board games, especially with like a hexagonal grid, but there are methods of doing it, and it would be a fucking sick skill.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that difficult. If you just had a paper copy of the grid and you were drawing where
if
you're
instead
going.
of a hex it was a square, then you could just letter the top and number the side, and it's just like, cool, I moved from B5 to C8, and then
Battleships.
That saves you.
Dinosaur battleships.
You sunk my T-Rex.
What was some other stuff they do in Jurassic Park to scale it up?
Well,
Well, they've definitely done other things to make everything worse.
I have a couple of skill examples which would probably
for it.
be early to mid game. So late game would be like the really crazy shit like invisibility, guns, extendable
one dinosaur being able to
claws.
split into two smaller dinosaurs.
Yeah, shit like that.
Shit, that's
shit like
cool,
that.
yes.
Yeah. So there's ambush. The dino can temporarily make itself impossible to see until the end of its turn.
That sounds like invisible.
It does, doesn't it? But if it attacks while in this state, it can add its smarts as well as its ferocity to the D20 roll.
Oh, nice.
Terrifying roar. All hostile dinos on the map must make an opposed smarts roll against the roaring dinosaur's ferocity. If they fail, they must use their movement in their next turn to move as far away as possible from the roaring dinosaur.
Ooh.
And
That's fun.
Acid spit. Passive. This skill allows the dinosaur to attack from range rather than purely melee.
So it's not really
What kind of-
passive. Just a nitpick.
It's not. Well, that's the thing. Originally, I was going to have like cooldown timers for these skills, so you can't just say, "I use terrifying roar." I use terrifying roar again.
I use fireball.
Fireball. Yeah.
You may have to come up with some kind of
Some
like
cooldowns. I haven't
mana
gone to
system
that
or
into
something.
specifics
Yeah.
because if there's one thing that our listeners do not want to hear, it's me talk about cooldown timers for another 20 minutes.
Joke's on you. That's the only reason they're here.
I like the acid spit one, and I'm imagining you don't give it a limit on which dinosaurs can use it, so I'm imagining an
Yeah.
acid spitting T-Rex.
Yeah, the whole point of this is that you can design, like I'm thinking that you have suggested builds. So like a warrior is like a T-Rex, and a paladin is like a triceratops or
A
something.
different T-Rex.
A different T-Rex with a little halo.
A divine tier.
But the point is that you build your own dinosaur, which is what I've always wanted to do. I don't know
cool.
about you guys.
Fuck yeah.
I honestly I wish we could play this game right now.
Yeah, it's just the thing is it's a very visual game, which is not very good for a podcast, and also it's not very well balanced.
Yeah, you need a prototype.
Lots of bits and pieces. The other thing I see going wrong with this game is science ruining it, because science has been slightly ruining dinosaurs by giving them feathers and stuff, and finding out that like Stegosaurus plates on its back weren't for attack. They were actually to attract mates, and Triceratops wasn't so much for defense. It was again to like plumage on a bird.
Yeah.
To say, look, I'm the biggest big dickiness Triceratops
Hey
around.
baby, wanna fuck?
Yeah.
That's what it says like in English on their scale pattern.
Just says send nudes.
Raw means wanna fuck in dinosaur. And the only other thing that I wanted to cover. So we've kind of talked a lot about the tactics, the combat layer, the strategy layer, which is
Oh yeah, that's right.
which is the long-term thing, is that at the end of every match, every player gets a card which they can use to upgrade ferocity, defense, smarts. I was thinking money or a card, or like you draw from a deck of cards, and if you lose, you get a random card, and each suit means something different. But if you win, you get a random card, and you can pick a card.
Right.
Just something simple like that. Or it could be money, and you have a table of things that you need to
That you can purchase.
need to expend. And the whole point of the strategy layer is that you don't reveal what you have bought for any of your dinosaurs to the other players. So it's almost like poker at that point.
No, that's cool. I think money would add a sort of almost like a sim management element.
I like the idea that at some point this Dinosaur Cold War loses its focus and they get sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Coca-Cola
That would be really
spray
funny.
painted on the side of the T-Rex.
Yeah.
Maybe like once you get that's like when you get to like the mid game, sponsors start getting interested. There's this whole other mechanic.
Do you know what that could be? You know, in Fable there was the boasting mechanic where if you boasted, I'll complete this quest completely naked, and if you do it, you get like megabucks
Yeah.
or something. It could be very similar with sponsors, like Coke. If Coca-Cola or whatever the equivalent is, if Nuka-Cola comes along, Crocodile, if Crocodile comes along and says, we'll give you, if you complete this match with Crocodile spray painted on the side of your dinosaur and you win, we'll give you like extra money. But if you lose, we'll just never sponsor you again, or something like that. Maybe sponsorship levels or relationships or something like that.
That's cool.
That would be quite cool to do outside of the Cold War setting. Maybe it's just the
This sounds like an expansion pack
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or like just a parody.
It's getting-
Dinosaur Cold War 2077.
I was going to say it's getting very like futuristic, almost dystopic.
Yeah, and then
I think that's where Cold War stuff always ends up.
Yes. Yeah,
how bananas and weird can this
It's
get?
better suited to dystopian future than 20th century, I think. Cold War. Just because then it gets like super crazy and the technology gets super crazy.
A future alternate history.
Yeah, the sponsors should start really like small business, like Al's Hobby Shack.
Yeah.
Move up to Coca-Cola and like some kind of Disney or like mega corporates.
Yeah, like in Guitar Hero, where like the first equipment that you can buy is like just like Al's Hobby Store or something fucking dumb like that.
PVA glue and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. That's Dinosaur Cold War. That's pretty much everything.
I love it.
It's good. Very focused, very tight game. Commercial.
This is Sarah Beck, Consumer Meat Specialist for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, with a few suggestions on handling frozen meat. If you buy meat that is already frozen, be sure to place it in your freezer as soon as you get home. If you can't go directly home with your purchase, the packages can be wrapped, in newspaper, for example, to prevent thawing. While freezer storage is a convenient way to keep meat, be sure you check the recommended storage time for each type of meat and date the packages so you'll know which to use first. If stored too long, meat will begin to lose its flavor, but it will still be wholesome. It's best to thaw meat in the refrigerator. If you don't use the meat once it's thawed, you can safely refreeze it as long as it remains in good condition. For more free information, write How to Buy Meat, Agriculture Radio, Washington, D.C. 20250.
And we're back. Thank you, Sarah Beck, for that wonderful bit of silliness. And now, Duncan, your game.
Sure. So I'm going to give you a little spiel, a bit like a movie trailer. I hope in reality, listeners at home, that you will hear it with some music. 1980, Washington, D.C. People were happy. People were safe. But then, they weren't. A gang of evil dinosaurs has kidnapped the president and fled to a mysterious island in the Pacific Ocean. They're demanding cash. They're demanding guns. They're demanding recognition of their national sovereignty. But what they don't know is that all they're gonna get is punched. Drastic times call for Jurassic measures. This is Dinosaur Punchers.
Marvelous. Excellent.
I'd watch that movie.
That was absolute.
Jurassic measures.
And that's as good as it gets.
That was like, you know, the beginning of Romeo and Juliet? That was the modern equivalent of that.
Yeah. So this is Dinosaur Punchers. This is a sort of 80s action movie themed combat game. So, and not good 80s action film. Drop your budget, please. So, the idea behind this, the setting behind this game is that evil dinosaurs are on an island and they've kidnapped the president of the United States. We as players, and by we I mean you, because I'll be the GM, are various types of hero who have been called in to go and get the president back. So you can be any type of hero you want, because there's no class. It's largely whatever backstories the backstory wants. So you could be a police detective who's seen it all. You could be a retired commando, whatever. Pick a cliche. That's what you want. You could be an astronaut who fought aliens and has returned, or whatever. You know, pick one.
Can we be a dinosaur in disguise?
There is no reason you can't be. So yes, you can be. The idea is that this is a largely story-driven game where the only real mechanic is the combat mechanic.
Okay.
So just before you sass me, Jack, I can see it in your eyes.
I'm going to hit you with some Jurassic snark.
No. I've already made a Jurassic pun. Those are done. Don't take away my only pun. So, basically, what we do when we play is we make characters. We'll go through. That's actually quite an important part of the game. We'll go through it in just a second. The game is split into 4 or 5 scenes, depending how quick a game you want. Each scene progresses more or less like a combat round with a story intro and outro. You progress through the plot, theoretically saving the president of the United States and winning the game. It is not designed to be a long-running story. It is not designed to be anything more than just one afternoon of play.
Nice one-shot kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like a Jurassic lark. Yeah.
So the combat is, I'm going to say now that it's very simple, and then as we use it, we'll see that it might not be, because As I was designing it, I started to hit some roadblocks where I really needed to play test it, so I don't really know if it works.
That's right. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. So
It's a pretty Jurassic task.
fuck off, Jack.
I'm done. That's the last one. That's the last one. It's the last one, I swear.
I just know that it's not. I just see it in your eyes.
I'm going to hit you with it when you're least expecting it.
Yeah. So I can get you the Jurassic Bark in a minute. So okay. I'm out of here. Everyone.
I used up all the good ones. I'm sorry.
So shall we create some players, get into some
So
playtesting?
I'll give you a teeny little gist about how the combat works, because that'll help you choose a character, I think.
Yes.
Combat in this game is, I call it a token-based combat game, where each round, whoever's participating in combat chooses the actions that they want to do, using actions from... there's a set list, so it's quite simple. You cannot do anything pretty much other than punch. This is Dinosaur Punchers. If you want to kick...
It's right in there.
If you want to kick, you're going to have to buy the expansion called Dinosaur Punchers, Dinosaur Kickers. But we're not playing that. We're just playing punches, so you can punch in various ways.
I like it. It's streamlined.
Exactly. You punch dinosaurs.
I mean, stabbing someone is just a punch with extra steps. Really.
No, you don't stab someone. You punch someone.
Yeah, but you punch them with a knife.
No, you don't.
You
That's
don't?
a stab. No, you punch people with your fist, and that's it. Full stop. Oh. Dinosaurs specifically, not people.
Oh.
That's assault.
Dinosaurs are people. I'm playing a dinosaur. I'm a person, Duncan.
Okay, we'll come back to that later because you're derailing this. So, you choose in secret what you want to do. Each action costs an X amount of momentum. Mm-hmm. Combat is all about momentum in this. By doing better, you gain the quote-unquote upper hand, which gives you more momentum. If you start losing, you lose the upper hand, and your momentum doesn't replenish as quickly. So the game makes players pretty superpowered. The idea is that it's not meant to be particularly challenging. A little bit tactical, but mostly it's about punching dinosaurs until the final boss. So each round you are punching, not kicking, to try and do damage, which gets you the upper hand, which gets you more momentum, which lets you do more punching, not kicking.
Gotcha.
If you lose, you'll start to lose it, and you're going to have to think about more tactics than just punching.
Okay.
And that's kind of the gist. There are also special moves. Every character gets a finisher. You get to decide your own finisher. It is an insta-kill. So even if you play it right at the start of a piece of combat, you just fucking knock them the fuck out. With some kind of... I will allow other non-punch related activities for the finisher, with the exception of kicking. So if you want to run off a wall and punch them in like the top of the skull as your finisher, some kind of like pile driver, you call it the pneumatic drill, flying pneumatic drill, acceptable. If you want to pick up a chair or some kind of environmental hazard and knock them with it, that's fine. I feel like it's still hand-based.
Sure.
But if you want to kick someone, no. Buy the expansion.
Alrighty.
This is sounding more and more like an EA business meeting where we're just trying to cut up the game and introduce them back in as microtransactions.
Just wait till I'll tell you about my loot chests.
Oh my God.
So I want to do a playtest with you very shortly. We'll make you characters. We'll do a little scene, have a little combat, break the game, try to fix it, and then call it a day. The one thing we're not going to be able to do is you can either punch or defend. But there's also like a reckless punch and like a super defend, which do more of the thing, more defend or more punch, and cost a little bit more. But there's supposed to be some kind of penalty to using them, because the outcome and the cost, like it's quite cheap for a better outcome. I don't know what the penalty is though. So we are going to encounter that pretty soon. We may have to pause, very quickly discuss what it could be,
Okay.
and then keep going.
Cool.
Sweet. Let's make some characters.
Make some characters. So what I'm going to need for you, if you want to be a hero, is you're going to have to think of what your general personality would be. So start thinking of movie tropes. Dinosaur Jack seems to have already settled on his. I'm going to need you to choose a nickname. That's what your character's name will be. So your actual name is irrelevant. You could be John, I don't care. But your nickname is what people will refer to you as, kind of like your code name. I'm going to need you to choose a finisher move so that we know how to roleplay your finisher. And then we will proceed.
Well, I'm going to be Fist Puncher 3000.
Okay.
I'm a robot that's been entered into the police department because I was in a horrible accident and they had the technology to replace most of my parts with metal.
Great.
I'm sort of still coming to grips with that as a person. Like, a ship of Theseus thing, like, how human am I? I still have a heart. I still feel the same emotions. Are they mine? Is it my interface? That's my deal. Everyone in the station calls me Steve.
Steve.
And
Steve.
you deal with your emotions by punching dinosaurs.
Yes.
So your nickname is Steve. Your real name is Dino Puncher 3000.
We'll go with that, sure.
I do have a question about the background of your character. And I realize you just improvised it right then, so this isn't fair. But if dinosaurs have only just kidnapped the president, why were you called Dinosaur Puncher before?
I'm actually a 12-year-old child, but I was in a horrible accident.
Right.
And then I was rushed to the hospital at the exact same moment that the president was rushed to an island of dinosaurs. And they thought, we've got two problems here, or do we have one solution? And they decided to make me into this robotic monstrosity.
Yeah.
Coming
I am
this
today.
summer. It's the prequel.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, that sounds perfect. Steve, wink. AJ, I'm going to give you a D20. Keep it at 20. You start the game with 20 momentum. Because I don't have tokens, physical like fist tokens and block tokens, we're just going to keep it fairly abstract. That's why you've got paper. So in secret, you'll write down what you want to do.
All right.
And how much it's going to cost. And then we'll resolve it.
Sweet.
And move on from there. Because what I would really want is for you to have an actual pool of momentum, quote unquote, and then some tokens that you can play, so that it's a bit more fast and a bit less paper based. So we've got Steve the robot, and
You've got Dino Jack. I'm going with that name.
Great, Dino Jack.
Dino Jack is that's the nickname.
Yep.
Is Dino Jack. He is a dinosaur.
Yep.
He is a raptor specifically, but he wears a hat, and he's actually works in the same department as Steve. But everyone thinks he's human because he's wearing a hat. But they still call him Dino Jack.
a very honey heist. Okay, so no wonder. So does Steve know that you're a dinosaur? Is that why you're the best of friends?
Does Steve know that?
I'm a 12-year-old kid. I don't have that higher perception stat.
He knows he's a dinosaur. He just doesn't think it's a problem.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sure.
I like it.
I'm 12. I recognize that, and I think it's a good thing.
Because characters role-playing 12-year-olds in RPGs has never been a bad idea.
Yeah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah.
No,
always.
I'm role-playing a cyborg who is experiencing existential crises.
From the perspective of a 12-year-old.
There's a 12-year-old somewhere in here. I have to
Okay.
find it
Okay.
by punching these dinosaurs.
And sometimes punching within yourself.
Wow.
Punch the inner child.
That's, yeah,
Within all of us.
punch
The
your inner
real
child.
punching was the friends we made along the way.
So, Steve, what is your finisher? Like,
Ooh.
and Dino Jack, have a think whilst he talks.
I immediately thought of kicking someone off a cliff, but I
You
can't,
can't
kick people.
kick. This is not dinosaur kickers.
Can I punch someone off a cliff? As in, a cliff kind of appears.
You could punch them. I mean, it's an island, so we
A
can.
seismic punch.
we could
where I
assume-
punch a cliff into the ground.
And then they fall off
works.
it. I
There
love
you
it.
go.
Seismic punch.
Seismic punch. They teeter on the cliff, and I just one finger, doink, and
Love
they're
it.
off.
Love it. Dino Jack, finisher.
I'm just thinking just biting their fucking head off.
Biting their head off. I didn't.
Actually,
I didn't.
you know what? No. He bites their neck off.
Okay.
It removes the neck, the head, and then the head just drops off.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't prepared to either allow or disallow biting.
Oh,
So we're gonna go with it. Yes, and is the key. Okay, so I figure it's an upper body action, therefore we'll accept it.
or maybe he just punches their neck out and then eats it.
Sure, that
Yeah,
sounds
let's go
awesome.
with that.
That sounds fucking awesome.
Punches their neck out.
Yeah, with his little raptor arms.
Yeah.
How that's gonna work? That's gonna be
hasn't
the fundamental problem with your character.
He hasn't
is,
got reach, but he's got speed.
He's got long range. I mean, short range. Okay, so we've got Dino Jack and Steve. Now, here's the thing I didn't tell you that I'm going to tell you now. Whoever has the coolest nickname gets to start the game with a special move token. Everyone else has to earn it. Steve gets a special token. So Steve, I'm going to give you a special token.
My lack of effort came through.
You don't like
So
Dino
I'm-
Jack, who is actually a dinosaur, but no one calls him Dino Jack. He knows that he's a dinosaur. It's just a coincidence.
I've not chosen it is because I came up with it.
That's very self-deprecating of you. To be honest.
Yeah, I'm British. So, basically, AJ, Steve, wink, you may use your special move at any point in the game.
Okay, do I know what it is, or are you just gonna...
It's your finisher.
Oh, okay, it's my finisher.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and because we're only playing one round, I would suggest that you use it whenever the hell you like.
Fab.
So at any point, you may simply open a crack in the ground and push someone off it.
Lovely.
Jack / Dino Jack.
Wink.
You will have to earn it. The way to earn special tokens
I know how to earn it.
The way to earn special tokens is when you defeat someone, if you have an awesome one-liner.
Oh, okay.
So if you can state a really awesome one-liner, I will give you a special token.
If you can use the word Jurassic in
Fuck,
it.
that was my plan. God damn it.
So, Jack, because this is a short round, I will try to give you more opponents.
Okay.
Actually, no. We're just gonna. I was gonna say I'll give you a special token for free, but actually, then you won't need the combat mechanic. You'll just be like, okay, I use my special and win.
Make them work for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Shall we airdrop onto this island?
Let's do it. So we're going to start the game, and I think scene 2, which is officially arriving on Dinosaur Island. So you've been asked to infiltrate this island where you know the president is being held. How would you get to the island? What would be your preferred mode of transport?
I'm going for a boat. I quite like a boat.
Yeah. Raptors
Yeah.
love boats.
Fuck yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Okay. So we're going to do a sort of beach landing. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or underground cave.
Yeah, little known fact, Dino Jack actually fought in World War II, so beach landings is very much his forte.
Wow. He's cool. Great. I love it. He's old, but still got it.
Yeah.
So every so often, can you just say, I'm sick of this shit.
He has no Dino Slack, okay? Dino Jack, no Dino Slack.
So that's his prequel. Right, I'm going to very, very, very quickly make sure you understand the rules before we start so we don't have to go too rulesy when we're playing. Is yours on 20? Yes, it is.
Yes,
Perfect.
it is.
So when you encounter combat, it goes into a sort of a round-based thing. Currently, all actions are resolved at the same time, so initiative is irrelevant. If when we roleplay it, we think that someone should get to act first, we should just roleplay it. Cool. We're a bit fast and loose here, just like you guys. So when you want to do combat, you can either punch, which deals 1 damage but costs 1 momentum. You can defend, which blocks 1 damage and costs 1 momentum. Or you can do a super version of either, which costs 2 momentum but does 3 damage or defend. But there would be a penalty for that. I don't know what the penalty is.
Oh, okay.
So
You get punched in real life.
yes, so
GM reaches over and just cracks you across the face.
it does your finisher on you. He chokes you out, bringing back childhood memories. So AJ, you may forgo that at any point to use your finisher.
Fab.
And we just slot it into the roleplay.
Cool.
And I suspect that's probably enough rules to play the game. It's not a rules-heavy game. It's not meant to be a hard game. It is meant to be a silly game where you punch dinosaurs. That is it.
Fab. So let's roll up on this beach.
So, okay. We begin our story. Okay, you are on a speedboat piloted by a one-eyed pirate called Captain Bark. So Captain Bark, he likes to bark orders. That's his thing. It's his gimmick.
Okay.
But all he's got is a speedboat due to some gambling issues. He's a really deep character. We're not going to go into him too much today. Okay. So Captain Bark is approaching the beach whilst you guys are doing what, I guess, polishing your fists.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
Yeah, polishing your fists and checking that they're loaded. As you approach through the mist, Captain Bark turns around and goes, "Arr! Land ahoy!" And lo and behold, the clouds part and you see a big fuck-off island. It is a fairly low-lying island with a mountainous center. A volcano. It is an active volcano, and you can see sort of a bit of smoke billowing away at the top, but it doesn't appear to be erupting. The beach is a gentle sort of white sand beach that slopes up into some thick forest with heavy undergrowth, so you can't really see, mysteriously and forebodingly, you cannot see into the forest. Your intel tells you the president is being held in a large complex within the volcano at the center of the island. So that is where we will need to get to. Captain Bark, he pulls up the boat approximately maybe 10 meters from the shore. He's like, "Arr, this is as far as I be going. Oh, Captain Bark, don't set foot on Dinosaur Island since there's dinosaurs there."
Alrighty,
Okay.
guess we're jumping out, storming the beach.
Jumping out.
So you splash into the water. It's cold and icy. How fast or slow do you approach the beach?
Steve is absolutely gunning it.
Gunning it. Okay.
He's got that, pumped up, nervous energy. This is the first time he's been out in the field.
Okay. He can feel nervous. Wow, that's good. It's good.
He can feel it, but he doesn't understand it.
Yes.
So he's
classic.
Just going through the water.
Dino Jack just watches him and newbies.
Captain Bart, he shakes his head and he's like, "Arr, those be the heroes that'll save our president." And then you hear behind you the boat starts up and he disappears. As you approach the beach, you get to have a closer look. There is thick forest in front of you and white sand beach stretching to your left and right, sort of curving away as far as you can see in either direction. You know the complex is in the center of the island, but you also know that visibility will drop to feck all as soon as you enter the forest. So it's up to you whether you want to scout the island and try to find some kind of road or just power through the forest.
Yeah, Steve would very much like to power through. That's his mode at the moment. He's in robot mode.
You start powering through the forest.
Punching trees, clearing the way.
There's only one way to clear trees in this game. Punch the trees. I love it. So you're punching down trees, making a hell of a racket.
Playing Minecraft.
Yeah, where Dino Jack, you hear a noise behind you, but not directly behind you, like something possibly following you, maybe in the trees or the undergrowth. But it's really hard to pinpoint everything with Steve just punching the fuck out of trees.
Steve, hold on a minute.
What's up, partner?
There's something following us.
Ooh, what is it?
I don't know, but it's very rustly.
Can I punch it?
I think you can punch anything you put your mind to.
All right, let's go investigate the rustles because I'm hunching for a punchin'.
Okay, you see a long, slow panning shot going from left to right over this forest. In the ambience, we hear birds singing and insects chirping, and we see a couple of close-ups on your eyes. And then it feels like there's nothing there. It feels like it stopped. But then you hear something strange. You hear the birds stop tweeting. Everything kind of goes silent. And then, out of the forest, dinosaurs, they flip in and suddenly the action music kicks up and 4 dinosaurs land next to you. You see 2 raptors and 2 Archaeopteryxes. They appear next to each other, so 1 raptor, 1 Archaeopteryx, and they land suspiciously on either side of you almost as if goading you into separate but sort of equally kind of combats.
Ooh, I'd like us to go back to back.
Yes.
Dino Jack and Steve, back to back.
Okay, you go back to back, and our combat begins.
All right, so Steve, this is his first ever time in the field, he's going to go in guns blazing, reckless punches, both to the Archaeopteryx. So it seems like an easy opponent. Smaller one, take it out. We can deal with this big guy in a second.
Okay, great. Steve, instantly, being the young hot-blooded hooligan that you are, you immediately step in with can your hands extend out of your arms for like a heavier punch?
Basically like Go-Go Gadget, yes.
Yes.
But like pneumatic Go-Go Gadgets.
Yeah, so that's where your reckless attack is like a
yeah.
You know? Pneumatic punches. Yes, I love
Around the office, we call that the Jurassic pneumatic.
Oh, I'm gonna give you a special token just because I thought it was cool.
Cool. Steve performs the Jurassic pneumatic.
Right. In your reckless attacks, you take 3 teeny little hits from the Archaeopteryx. However, you absolutely pummel it into the ground. You literally punch through its skull until it's just sort of like fleshy meat. The raptor, expecting you to go for it first, defends it first, and then swings in with its own little claw attack and then a tail swipe as well, dealing a grand total of 5 damage.
Oof.
Dino Jack will punch some dinos with reckless attacks both times on the bigger raptor.
Jack/Dino Jack, you bonk him on the nonce with 2 reckless attacks, and he brings his arm up to try and defend and managed to shed some of that damage that would have otherwise pulverized his skull. However, you easily break through his guard and kind of send him tumbling to the ground. He's dead. He doesn't get back up again. He's dead, he's knocked out, we're not sure. Do you have a one-liner?
Yes, and as Dino Jack stands over this pathetic excuse for a raptor, he spits on him and says, "You were a little below the Jurassic mark."
as you say your one-liner, however, this teeny little raptor flies in at an Archaeopteryx, flies in out of nowhere, hitting you with 3 small hits, which deals 3 damage. So, we've got 1 Archaeopteryx left and 1 raptor left. Mm-hmm. So, what do you want to do? Steve.
Seismic punch. So I'm going to take a jumping leap.
Okay.
Bam! Up in the air, slow motion, both fists held above my head, slam them down either side of me, and then cracks appear on the ground from each of my fists back around the back of the raptor, and a chasm opens up behind him.
Oh.
And then maybe his back claw like slips on the back, he looks back at it, then I reach forward with 1 robotic finger, and then the finger pneumatically extends, dink! And he falls back into the chasm.
He tumbles Darth Maul style into this bottomless pit, and you hear this hiss as he hits lava at the bottom. He is well and truly defeated, and so is part of the island. Dino Jack, would you like to describe what your attack looks like? Bearing in mind, it's quite a small little dinosaur.
Sure. So he's going to lean forward with his hat on, and then just before he winds up a punch, he takes off the hat, revealing himself to be a dinosaur as well.
You see its eyes open wide with shock.
He says, Dino Jack says, "In these waters, I'm the Jurassic Shark." And punches his neck out.
Yes! Great. Its neck just evaporates, and it just the body and head just kind of topple to either side. One goes left, one goes right, and it just on the ground. With the 4 dinosaurs dead, nothing now stands between you and the complex, we'll call it Dinosaur Castle. However, Dinosaur Castle is a large and foreboding place, and you do not know specifically where the President of these United States is kept in that castle. Your mission now is clear. Infiltrate the castle, interrogate somebody, or otherwise find out where the president is kept, and punch down the door. To be continued.
And scene.
Scene.
Nicely done.
You have officially punched 4 dinosaurs plus the ground.
I've punched the earth and I won.
That is the ultimate expression of this game, is that
Yeah.
you punch the ground.
I love it.
To win.
Yeah. And when you are successful, you punch the air and freeze.
Yes, that's the end of the scene as we both jump in the air and bam in the air. Freeze frame.
The start of Danger Zone starts playing on the freeze frame where it's like down, 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 out, and then the credits roll.
Nice. I think, yeah. We both said, well, Dino Jack and Steve.
I think you made
these classic buddy cops.
I think you made a good duo with a lot of. You were sufficiently different characters that we could have had a really emotional journey.
Yeah, the differences are pretty Jurassic Stark, yeah.
Jack, you promised it was the last one.
I lied!
See, that's very 80s. Nice, Commando.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I think that was good. I think us picking very different characters was very fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
So had we started from the start and gone through, we would have had a chance to really see some emotional development, which is not that important because really we're here to punch dinosaurs, but would have been nice. Would have been cool. There was a lot of opportunity for you to find yourselves. You know.
Yeah, I think like in setup, maybe putting some more guidance in the rules of whatever you made for like how you create characters, how you create, especially like a cliched 80s, 1980s movie character.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, actually.
I didn't do it today because I figured you guys would be able to do it yourselves. I was thinking maybe putting like a random choice table for in case you couldn't think of one, which was just a bunch of tropes.
Yeah.
So you just
that'd be
roll.
good.
If you couldn't think of a character, you roll on the table. There's your trope.
Like, I don't know. I actually don't know that many tropes from 80s.
Well,
and
there's
90s stuff.
the detective. You can either do job title and in front of it put retired, or after it put who has seen it all.
Yeah.
So maybe you choose like from retired or has seen it all, and then a bunch of job titles.
Well, that's your lethal weapon. But
Yeah.
the cop duo is
Yeah.
old black cop who's
Seen it
getting
all.
too old for this shit, and then you got your
rookie needs to be another adjective.
and then like young maverick who's got nothing to lose.
Yes,
Loose cannon.
Yes,
Loose cannon. That's exactly the
So
word.
you've got a table of adjectives and a table of job titles, and you just pick two.
Yeah, who has got nothing to lose would be great as
Yeah.
like Yeah. That's really
cool.
good.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Nice. Anything
So-
mechanically you want to talk about
Well,
that we didn't really cover there, or
so we didn't cover two core things. The only two mechanics we didn't cover, that was like the whole game. You kind of just repeat, and the idea is that it's less about the specifics of the mechanic, more about using that as a means to punch dinosaurs. But also in harder fights, like if you were fighting a lot more opponents, you would have to start really thinking about your momentum as a resource, which is why I wanted to playtest it, because that means you got to balance the number. So the mechanics we didn't use were upper hand and penalties. So theoretically, because you both did a lot of damage, you should have gained the upper hand, which would replenish your momentum.
you like gain machismo.
Exactly.
Because you've won, you're pumped up on your win. You're on a hot streak.
So momentum is not meant to be like a resource like stamina. It's meant to be an idea of like the tide of battle, you know? And as you fight for longer, sure, you might get tired, so you could argue it's sort of stamina-esque, but if you do more damage, the tide of battle swings in your favor.
Like morale.
Yeah, so
kind
it's a mix of a lot of things. So the longer you fight, the harder it will be to keep up your momentum. You'll stagnate. Whereas if you can pound through lots of little dudes, you can keep up the momentum, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm with like saying badass one-liners. Maybe that's a good way to put it into momentum instead, so that pumps you up. The whole team gets a little bit more for the next fight.
So the idea, the idea with one-liners is you shouldn't be able to say them until you've defeated your last enemy.
Okay.
But because of this small game, I wanted you to have the opportunity to do it, and I'm glad we did, because you got a special. So, I mean, the idea is you wouldn't stop in the middle of a fight and say something cool. You'd smash everybody and do like a really cool final one that is then turns into a one-liner. So that way you can't chain specials in combat if you're really good at coming up with one-liners. So you get essentially one per combat if you're very good, or one every so often if you forget. So that's, again, if you lose the upper hand, the idea is that you would then stop replenishing momentum, which means you start draining it because you're having to step back, which
Gotcha.
I kind of worry about, because it means an unlucky player may chain defeats.
Yeah, when you're losing, it means you're losing more.
Yes,
Which
but
is a bit tricky.
I was kind of hoping that other teammates and things would come in to like help. So there's a bit more, because you two were very isolated because you had your own fights. But AJ, if you finished off yours very quickly, theoretically you'd be able to come in. So if Jack
maybe
was-
some kind of bonus if you both gang up in the same fight. I feel like they're going back to back. I think that should be maybe a specific thing that if you end up in that situation, you kind of bump up each other, you both get a bit more momentum.
Yeah, or
like, I think you could have a lot of things in this, which are just specific cliche sort of things you do, which give you a bit more momentum and a bit more of a boost. Because it's a very casual game. It's not going to last super long. I feel like you should be able to give out stuff for just doing things very quickly.
Yeah, like you can share momentum if you go back to back. You can
sharing,
use
that's
the
a good
other
idea.
person's
Yes,
momentum.
that's a good idea.
And
then
then swing them around,
and then, like,
kick
if
someone.
you know
Wait,
you're-
no, not kicking.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no kicking. That's the expansion. Dinosaur Punchers, Dinosaur Kickers. So if there's a colon there, I just haven't been saying it. So if you know your teammate is losing, you might be more reckless to deal more damage quickly, taking whatever hits or penalties is necessary so that you can finish off your guys quick, get over and help them, or something like that.
I reckon put like maybe a specific list of moves, or maybe you can come up with them like finishes. Like maybe Dino Jack's in trouble. Maybe Steve takes a flying leap over the top of him, smashes the enemy he was having trouble with. I reckon maybe come up with a couple of things like that, like finishing moves, how you can interact with the other players, or a list, something like that. Particular badass cinematic moments you can bring in.
So the only question left, because that's a very good idea. The only question left then is what the penalty would be for being reckless or for defending more. Because I figure if you're reckless, you're leaving yourself open. But if you're super defending, I feel like your momentum should suffer for it because you've slowed your fight to defend more.
Yeah.
It could be a case of if you use a reckless in one turn, the next turn you can't use the equivalent super moves.
Right.
So you can't just do reckless attack, and then reckless attack, or reckless attack, and then super defense. So you limit your options by putting yourself out there, but you still have things that you can do. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Alternatively, you could take the D&D route, which is whenever you use a reckless attack there, the other people do more damage, or maybe
maybe if you reckless attack, you take extra damage in the next round, or maybe in the same round. I suppose it depends whether you think reckless attacks are always going to be used as sort of finishers, which for you guys it was. A couple of reckless attacks.
I jumped in with a reckless attack.
Yeah, a couple of reckless attacks is enough to squish pretty much all minions. It might not be enough to... So there's minions, mini-bosses, and the final boss. And the idea is that they are just placed wherever is cool for the story.
I think the easiest way with something like reckless is just a cooldown time that you need a certain amount of turns before you can come back to it. I don't think you need anything particularly
or maybe
more than that.
Maybe you can only reckless attack if it's some kind of desperate situation. So it's a bit more story based. So if you are on the back foot, maybe if you lose the upper hand, you gain reckless attack.
Or if your teammate is losing, you gain a reckless attack or something like that. Maybe if you're like situations where maybe you're surprised or if there's an ambush, kind of like we had, but we kind of squared up the fights too soon for that. Because I don't know. Or maybe it can only be your first move, only if you're surprised, only if you're in a tight spot.
Yeah.
Have very particular situations. Yeah. So again, stuff narratively happening, you give the players mechanical stuff they can do.
Yes.
Cool. Since your back's up against a wall here, and you've got these two raptors in front of you, here, have a reckless attack. You can try and fight your way out of this one.
Yeah, and then you can spend it or lose it. I think that's cool.
So the question that I have for you is that what makes this dinosaurs?
It's in the name.
Couldn't you just replace dinosaur with anything else and it would still make sense?
Well, no, because it wouldn't be as good a game, would it? 'Cause it wouldn't be punching dinosaurs. Imagine punching a T-Rex, Jack. That's not as cool as punching Big Tony. Although the boss is called Big Tony, but he's a T-Rex.
Well, now you've given it away.
It's called Big Tony Rex.
Big T, as his friends call him.
Big T.
Tony Rex.
Yeah, some people just call him Bigs.
Anything else to add while this is clearly winding down?
No.
Nice.
Jack, valid question, but irrelevant because dinosaurs.
Okay.
Shall we get to points?
Points means privilege?
Points
That's
means
what it means,
prestige.
Right? Prestige.
Yeah, that's the one.
And privilege.
All right, boys, it is time for points. Are you both proud of what you made here today?
Yeah.
I'm proud of both
Jack,
of you. I had
should
a lot
be
of
proud.
fun.
That was a cool game.
You too, Duncan.
Thank you.
Let's go. We're going to bounce back and forth. Jack, design for Dinosaur Cold War. I gave you a 7. Decent amount of design. I don't think you thought it all the way through, but there was a lot to that game, I think. Definitely more of a board game than an RPG, but I don't know, I could see it totally working
like
both ways.
Board game with role-playing elements.
I think it works better almost as an RPG because I think a lot of it is in your head, because I think it works really well. It's mostly in the realm of imagination instead of on the field.
I mean, we haven't got real dinosaurs in front of us, so I suppose it's all in the realm of imagination.
Let alone
That's
fictional
true.
dinosaurs.
Dduncan, Dinosaur Punchers design. I gave you a 4.
Yeah,
purely because there isn't too much design there.
I'm not going to say it's a poorly designed game. I'm going to say it's a little designed game.
It's very loose. If you gave it to someone who wasn't confident with this kind of game, I don't think they'd have a very easy time playing through it. Especially with the discussion we're talking about giving out skills for narrative things, like GM discretion about when you do that or what's cool enough. I think it'd be a bit tricky. And also, if it's a one-shot, you probably only play once.
Yeah.
If you learn things from your first playthrough, it's hard to bring them to the next one. I'm sure you could play it multiple times, but I feel like it a bit samey.
I feel like the way to play it multiple times would just be to swap Dinosaur out for other things. Kind of like how, because when we, like Dr. Magnet Hands, for example, when we play that, we don't play Dr. Magnet Hands anymore. We just change the genre. So like we'll do like a Vikings one, and then we'll do like an Australian one or a Wild West one, and that keeps it interesting.
No, it could go that way. It's mostly a skin, but it was good fun.
Thank you.
Just not much design there, but that's fine. Novelty, Jack, I gave you a 6.
Yeet.
Because there are lots of games like that kind of thing of strategy on a board, playing other people, creating, souping up different things. There are other games like that, but I hadn't seen one specifically like this, with dinosaurs that you soup up, and the particular way you were thinking about it.
Super cool.
Duncan, a 5. It felt like a lot of, again, you could put that skin onto a lot of different games. And because it was quite loose, it could apply to a lot of different things.
Yep.
There just wasn't enough making it unique in itself.
Something tells me that Duncan's losing dinosaur points.
It sounds like, it does remind me of Magnet Hands.
Yeah,
a bit. Not in terms.
There's
of,
like that. Let's just get together and have a fun story. We've got the beginning. We've got the end. Now let's just have fun filling in the middle.
I wanted to make a really rules-light game for a change.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is why for funness, both of you got a 9.
Yeah,
Thanks.
boy.
Both sound like a lot of fun. Jack, yours sounds like a lot of fun, and the structure of it and the way you think about it seemed like the forward thinking you have to do in the planning. Duncan, the lack of planning, the just getting in and doing it.
Just get in, punch some fucking dinosaurs.
Yeah, like very different ends of the fun spectrum, but I thought they were both really good. Combat. Jack, Dinosaur Cold War, 10 out of 10. All combat, all the time. None of the bullshit. You're either planning for combat or you're doing combat. That's it. Duncan, I gave you an 8. Mostly combat, most of the time, but there's also other stuff stringing it together. Like, I imagine, especially once you get to the complex where the president is, there's going to be other scoping it out and little interactions happening. Maybe not. Maybe it should be a 9, but we're going with an 8 because I wrote it down.
It could be a 9.
Jack, dinos, 3 out of 3.
Oh.
Lots of dinos, some specific dino powers. You thought of, well, T-Rex could have these abilities, Velociraptors have these abilities, borrowing quite a few things from pop culture, but I think that's good. Totally fine. Duncan, 1. You did include dinos, but
were dinosaurs.
arguably, that could be anything. It could be mermaid punches.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. Mermaid punches.
TM, copyrighted TM.
Like, I can see a lot of expansions.
Alien punches.
Which is good, but yeah, less dinos.
Okay, but whose game is more likely to turn into a multi-million-dollar film? This guy.
What have we got? So that brings Jack, Dinosaur Cold War, gets a 35. Duncan, Dinosaur Punchers, receives a 27.
35 is one of the highest scoring games we've ever had.
That's pretty big. I was very into it.
Riveted.
It was good.
It's a game you can really sink your teeth into.
Ayy, and cut.
End music.
Thank you for listening to Pitch Slap. Join us next week for a spooky Halloween special where I, Duncan, shall be challenging my counterparts to create the spookiest, scariest little RPG they can think of. Christ. What was I going to say next? Oh, yeah. Please leave a review or a comment or a rating or a like or whatever wherever you are listening to, because that really does help the show. And if you want to follow anyone or any behind the scenes or anything from Idiots 3, please jump to our subreddit or our socials at the links probably somewhere on your screen.
Tight.